Good day, boxing fans. Saturday night, it's heavyweights again at the Wembly Arena in London, England, and I'm talking about the rematch between Big Joyce and the Big Bang, Zhilei Zhang. Will it be repeat or revenge? Stick around for the breakdown, and also I would love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comment section. When these two behemoths met the last time out, Zhilei Zhang caused a huge upset when he shut the right eye of Joyce and handed him his first defeat via TKO in 6 rounds. Now I've been looking at the comments on social media, what's been written, and a lot of people are saying, well, Joyce is too square on, it takes too many punches, it was bound to happen, and there's not much that he can do in the rematch, things will go the same way. But then I also have to ask, can Zhilei Zhang do anything different in the rematch if Joyce presents a different look? And will he need to, is the other question. Now, in the first encounter, the way it looked to me, Joyce says he underestimated Zhilei Zhang, and I think he did do that because he had that look in those first few rounds of a kid that's in the examination room being confronted by the exam paper, and he hasn't studied at all for the exam, and he's just been out chasing tail all weekend, and now he's sitting with the exam and he doesn't know what to do. And Joyce had that sort of look about him, and Zhilei Zhang couldn't miss him with that southpaw left. He banged in left after left, as well as the right hook worked. Everything went right for Zhilei Zhang, and Joyce just couldn't get out of the way, and his corner told him in between rounds, told Joyce, get off the line, get off the line. But he couldn't do that for any amount of time. Now, the thing with Joyce is always the same thing. He's kind of straight up and stationary. He doesn't move his head. He keeps his hands up. He keeps coming forward, and he places his punches well. He's got a good variety of punches. He's got good power, and he's got, for a heavyweight, a very high work rate. He just keeps punching and punching and punching, and he's got a very good chin. He takes what the other guy dishes out, and eventually he just overwhelms the other guy and inevitably most of the time stops him. He's won all his wins, bar one is by stoppage, and that's what he did against Joseph Parker. So it's no wonder that people didn't give Zhilei Zhang a chance. I was one of them, but unfortunately underestimated Zhang. Zhang gave a good account of himself in his only loss against Filip Hrgović in his previous fight. Lost a razor-thin decision that could have gone his way, knocked Hrgović down. But Zhang, I suspect, is one of those guys that looks easier to fight on tape, on video, on the screen than he is in real life. It sounds rather obvious, but some guys, you can see their obvious flaws and the holes in there, but they have an awkwardness, maybe a deceptiveness of hand speed, maybe a proportion between their height and their reach, or they just more heavy-handed, and I think that's the thing with Zhilei Zhang. He's a heavy-handed fighter. He's not a zap one-and-done knockout puncher like a Deontay Wilder or Julian Jackson, but his hands are like sacks of cement, and it's hard to know exactly how heavy those hands are until you have a misfortune of standing next to in front of him in the ring. And I think that was the thing. We knew Joyce could take a punch, and I thought Joyce would simply outwork him at a high pace, because the one thing Zhang is not very good at is he does gas out. He can't fight at a very high pace. We saw that in his draw against journeyman Jerry Forrest, and he almost looked like he was going to die, and eventually he got to the end of a fight, and he had kidney failure and all kinds of things. But Zhilei Zhang can't fight at a sustained high pace for very long. He throws a few bunches of punches every round, like he did there against Joyce. But with Joyce, he hit him with that straight left, one of many in the second round, and you saw Joyce's legs buckled. He wobbled him there, and he also started bleeding profusely from the nose. I suspect he might even have broken his nose. The blood looked kind of dark. Now, as we all know, your nose and your eye cavities, all these things are interconnected. And I think that was also a big part of what made that right eye of Joe Joyce start swelling up and eventually shutting, and then they had to stop the fight. Because up until that point, he kept getting hit by Zhilei Zhang, but he was also out-punching Zhang. And Zhang's work rate was ever so slightly dropping off, like we're used to seeing from Zhang. Now my question is, if Zhang is not able to shut that eye of Joe Joyce, again like he did last time, and that eye holds up and Joyce keeps on setting that high pace round after round after round, I think, like I thought last time, you know, he's going to start overwhelming Joe Joyce. Like he's done all his wins, Joe Joyce, bar one, were by way of stoppage, and like he did with Joseph Parker, and probably his most impressive wins. But his face has got to hold up, and that's one thing we forgot. Yes, you can keep taking the punches. If your chin is that good, it's not good for your neurological health, but your face has got to be hold up. And I think we all underestimated the heavy-handedness of Zhilei Zhang, and eventually that told on Joe Joyce's face. He buckled him, but he couldn't knock him out or knock him down, but his face wouldn't hold up. Now, Joe Joyce, I don't think, it's rare that you can teach fighters that are stationary with their head at that stage of their career to suddenly become slick and move their heads. I don't think Joe Joyce is going to do that. I agree with a common sense opinion. He's not going to be able to do that. He's not going to bounce off his toes and throw speedy punches and move and stick and move like Muhammad Ali or Larry Holmes. He's not going to do that. But I do think that with Joe Joyce, you can at least get it through his head, and I think he will now. But you have to step out of the way of those left hands coming from Zhilei Zhang. So Joe Joyce is going to have to get out of the way and step to his left, away from those lefts that's going to be coming from Zhilei Zhang. So he did it a little bit when he started throwing his left hooks. He likes throwing the left hook underneath, upstairs, double around the guard. But he's got to keep doing that and step off to his left, away from that left hand of Zhilei Zhang. So what Joe Joyce is going to have to do different this time. Last time, I think he underestimated Zhang because he looked like a kid that didn't study for his exam in the first few rounds in that fight. He looked sort of flustered, and he was still sort of getting into it, and then Zhang was already smashing up his nose and his eye. And this time he's got to start faster, and he's got to keep turning around Zhilei Zhang. He's got to hit and turn around, and hit and turn around, and hit and turn around, and he's going to have to protect that right eye with his glove, hold his gloves up high, and keep on turning away from the southpaw left of Zhilei Zhang, and keep setting that high pace. Because if he does that, Zhang is not going to keep up that pace over 12 rounds. He just doesn't have a gas tank at age 40, even though Joyce is 39, but he's got a big gas tank for a heavyweight. So this time I think Joe Joyce is going to be better prepared. He's not going to be underestimating Zhilei Zhang. And I think at least he's going to use his gloves, use his guard better to protect that eye, and he's going to circle more. He's going to have to circle more around Zhilei Zhang, circle off to his left, away from the left of Zhang coming in. And if he does that, if he stays out of the way, if he can prevent his eye from swelling and set a high pace, I think he can win this fight on points, or perhaps a late round stoppage if Zhang gasses out. So I'm going to go for this time for it being revenge. I think it's going to be a good fight while it lasts. I think Joe Joyce will make enough adjustment to get past Zhilei Zhang, to see out the 12 rounds, or to get Zhang out of there eventually. And the thing is, I don't think Zhilei Zhang can do much more than he did in the first fight. He's not going to have a higher work rate. I think that was as good as we've seen Zhang. So Zhang is going to have to be depending on busting up that face again of Joe Joyce, getting him out of there. And Zhilei Zhang, as we've seen against Hrgovic, he can hurt a guy, he can get a guy down. But at that top level, he battles to get a guy out of there because he has to fight within himself. He can't just go wild and let all his punches go, because then he gasses out. So I think that's what's going to stop Zhilei Zhang from taking out Joe Joyce, if he can't close the eye or bust up the facial features of Joe Joyce. So I'm going for Joe Joyce to exact revenge, albeit not maybe in the most impressive way, but to get by Zhilei Zhang. My gut feel is he's going to win it on points. I won't be surprised if he can stop Zhilei Zhang late. I won't be shocked if it's just repeat and Zhang closes up the eye again. But I do think Joyce will be better prepared for the situation. He'll make at least enough adjustment to keep stepping around Zhilei Zhang to keep that eye alive. And if he can keep his face intact, he can set that high pace, he will defeat Zhilei Zhang, I think. So that's what I think, guys. Remember, if you've watched this far, please punch the thumbs up. And tell me in the comment section, what do you think? Have you got Zhilei Zhang in this fight? Have you got Joyce? And why do you think so? And what do you think of a heavyweight scene and what we've had so far this year? And until I see you guys again, also consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate that. And remember to keep those hands up.